welcome back, friends. And today I wanted to design a theoretical stack for the modern day CEO. This will be a theoretical stack, but if you're someone who is a high level businessman, whether you're in stocks or whether you're doing whatever, you're running your own business, I wanted to give you guys a protocol that I think will be very helpful for you. Less of a protocol, more of a framework. There will be an article down below, so if you don't want to watch the video and you want to skim really quick, click the link below for the article. With that being said, guys, let's all dive into how we can biohack the modern CEO. I'm going into this video with the knowledge that the modern CEO is probably 25 years or older. So again, I'm not talking about a guy who's 18 or 19 years old. Let's say for this video that the modern day CEO is 25 years old, male or female, whatever. Again, if you're a woman or a man, make sure to just adjust the protocol as needed. But we're going to kind of keep that in mind. And this is a person who has to do a few things. They have to work hard. They have to be able to communicate effectively. They have to be able to keep a consistent and a clear emotional level of stability, and they have to just have high output overall, right? They need to be on top. They don't have time to take days off or to be off even for 1 or 2 days. And so in this, I want to discuss how we can set ourselves up to do this, okay? So this is going to be a fairly comprehensive video, and there's not a one-size-fits-all, okay? So I don't want you guys to think that in this video, I'm going to be giving you a master key to the perfect protocol. It really depends on the person and who it is and kind of what their needs are, and that'll be kind of part of the video. So first, let's determine how we can start building this protocol. I think the first most important thing is to take a honest look at yourself. If you're watching this right now and you are a CEO or you want to become a CEO at some point, you need to have an honest level of kind of self-reflection, okay? How dialed in are you with your life? How good is your diet? How good is your sleep? How well do you manage your stress? How well do you focus on learning new things? How much time do you really give to building your business? How much time do you spend in your day wasting time, okay? How much time in your day do you spend putting things off? How much time in your day do you spend not developing good relationships with people that care about you, okay? How optimized is your life versus how not optimized your life is, okay? You need to have this honest conversation with yourself, and you need to start taking the necessary steps to making your lifestyle more optimized. Again, I have tons of videos on how to optimize it. There's a good nootropics video I made, and it'll be linked somewhere, I'm sure, on how to kind of optimize your nootropic stack. I highly recommend watching that and going through it. But if you're a CEO, if you're someone who wants to do more and do better in life, you need to have that honest conversation with yourself in the mirror, okay? You need to realize that if your lifestyle is not optimized and if it's not nearly perfect, and that if you almost don't think like a perfectionist, okay, your success will not be nearly as, prominent, okay? I think success as a CEO is all about odds. So you want to set the odds to be in your favor. So again, you also need to understand who you are as a person, right? Where are your shortcomings? Are you someone that's very confident, but you're a bit more erratic? Are you someone who's very emotionally stable, but you lack a little bit of confidence? Are you someone who, has great energy, but lacks focus? Are you someone who, can focus, but you don't know what to focus on? Are you someone that just struggles to get your work done? Are you someone who's really good at problem solving, but you're really bad at this? You need to be honest with yourself, and then you need to develop your protocol based on that, okay? Not everyone needs to be super stimmed out all day. Not everyone needs to be on an SSRI. Not everyone needs a full mitochondrial stack for energy. It is person to person. So again, part of that conversation with yourself you need to have in the mirror is understanding where your strengths and where your weaknesses are. So now let's kind of get into developing and designing the protocol. First, we'll talk some lifestyle, and then we'll talk some things that you should be doing. So your lifestyle should be set up for being productive, okay? And by the way, this does not mean that you are a hermit who lives at work all day. This means that your lifestyle is properly set up for being productive, okay? For myself personally, okay, I have a set schedule I follow every single day, usually Monday through Friday. Weekends, I tend to take off from the schedule, but Monday through Friday, it is a set schedule, okay? There's certain non-negotiables I do in my day, and I do them every day in the same order. So that way I know I'm getting myself done and I'm setting myself up for success, right? Whether it's keeping my room clean, doing the laundry, starting my day off with a shower. The issue is that when you don't have a set schedule and something that you follow to a T, your day becomes a bit discombobulated, okay? You're like, oh shoot, I forgot to do this, or I should have done this earlier and I forgot. So what you need to do, the number one thing for productivity is planning, okay? Plan your week out on Sunday night or Saturday night or whenever, and make sure that you have a good grasp on your week, okay? What are your goals for the week, and how are you going to achieve those goals in the most detailed way possible? Do not go into weeks not knowing what you're going to do. And if you need more stuff to do in your week, then again, you probably need to become a little bit busier, but plan. Productivity starts with planning. So make sure that you properly plan out your weeks, even going as far as to plan out times for you to relax and let loose, okay? I always try to make sure within my weeks, I plan out a day to relax, I plan out days to socialize, I plan things out to a T, and my friends always laugh at me for it. They're like, we're not supposed to hang out for 6 days. Why are you already planning this? And I'm like, because it's important to do that, okay? So productivity is key. The other thing that's important is setting yourself up in an environment that is going to be productive for you, okay? If you work in a place that is filled with distractions, whether it's at your house, whether it's wherever, you go to a coffee shop and you get distracted by the barista, you need to put yourself in environments where you're not going to be distracted, okay, guys? So you need to put ample time, energy, effort, and planning into creating yourself a productive environment and a productive space that you can work in throughout the week, and make sure that your week is planned to a T. Your meals are planned, when you take your supplements is planned, when you get ready is planned, your meetings are planned. That's why I sometimes get so frustrated when things happen kind of out of the blue with a meeting or something last minute, because it throws everything out of whack, because I've been planning all week since Sunday for that. So number one, before you do anything in this protocol, you need to make sure you are setting yourself up for success from a productivity standpoint. The other thing that I think is very important, and again, I don't want to dive into this too much because I've already made a video on it, but surround yourself and put yourself in not only a productive environment, but a positive environment, okay? Keep yourself around people that are going to make you feel better and make you want to work harder and make you want to work, more for your goal and make you want to be a better person, okay? If you're striving to always work hard, be successful, achieve your goals and be a better person, and you have people around you who are motivating you to do that, okay, that will put you in a very good spot to be successful, okay? And the other thing too is plan long term, okay? Make sure when you're planning, you don't just plan short term, but you plan long term. Hey, I want to quit my job in 8 months. How am I going to do that? Set a plan, write things down. It will help you so much, okay? Again, even plan the rest though, because you might hit burnout. So now let's discuss some key things that should be done. So if you are a modern day CEO, you need to make sure your hormones are optimized. If your hormones are suboptimal, you're not going to be in a good spot. So make sure your hormones are optimized. Make sure that you have done blood work, and make sure that your blood work looks good. You are a healthy individual. Make sure you're eating a diet that is of healthy foods. Make sure that, again, you're sleeping good, and make sure that you're exercising. These are all the non-negotiables. You don't have to be a shredded 250-pound bodybuilder, but make sure you're taking care of yourself. Again, a lot of guys become CEOs and they get super busy and they stop taking care of themselves, guys. This will hold you back. So make sure you are taking care of yourself. Eating that McDonald's at 2 p.m. is only going to make you slower, more lethargic. Staying up all night working and not sleeping every night is only going to slow you down and make you more lethargic. So make sure your lifestyle is well optimized, make sure your health is good, and make sure your hormones are in check. What I was saying in the planning section too is also make sure you're giving yourself time and make sure you are focusing on relaxation. Spending 10 minutes a day in meditation or prayer is very good. Talking to a loved one about your issues, seeing a therapist or seeing a psychologist is very helpful at helping you to be better. Think about the top athletes in the world, okay? They are seeing psychologists, they're talking to therapists because your psychology is so important, okay? And setting your psychology up for success is so important. The mind is such a powerful thing. So make sure that you are properly setting those things up for success as well. And this all kind of comes down to the lifestyle, and there's so many lifestyle things I can talk about, but your psychology needs to be well dialed in, and also your physical health needs to be well dialed in. You need to put emphasis on, putting yourself in situations where you can relax, putting yourself in situations where you can be more creative and problem solve, and then putting yourself in the situations where you're like, okay, it is work time, it is time to work. So making sure all that's dialed in, making sure you're planning, you're doing those things will be the first part to your success. Now, secondly, if you have everything optimized and everything's well locked in, your hormones look beautiful. If you were coming to me for coaching and I say, how's your lifestyle? And you say, I have great relationships. I sleep great. I drink tons of water. I get outside. I see my friends. We have so much fun together. I'm in this great spot in life. I would say, okay, perfect. Now let's start to discuss some pharmacology that I think can be very important for CEOs, and this is where the video might get a little bit controversial. Please remember that I am not a medical doctor, and this is not medical advice, but I'm just going to go over my realistic best things that I think that is important from a pharmacology aspect for some CEOs. The first thing is if you are a man, I do think having high testosterone levels is very, very important when it comes to the corporate world. And the reason is it's really more so from a neurological level than anything else. Yes, it's great for energy and all that stuff, but testosterone tends to give you two things. Two, it gives you a level of confidence and it gives you resilience, okay? Which are both very important. If you guys want to do big things, especially in the business world and you're a CEO and you want to go make $1 million a year, you have to have some sort of ego. You have to have some sort of confidence. That does not mean be a bad person, but that does mean that you should, right, be able to be confident in yourself. And if someone was to say, hey, how are you gonna make $1 million? You're like, I got this, okay? You need to have that level of self-confidence. All great people who have done big things have a certain level of self-confidence. For some people, it's even more of a delusional level of self-confidence. Doesn't need to be delusional. You don't need to be crazy, but that self-confidence, that ego is going to be important. I think testosterone helps to build that. And again, if you're smart about how you do your testosterone, it'll build that in a very careful way, in a way that's not too much. Because if you're too confident, you'll become a bit erratic. The other thing too that's very good about testosterone is it helps to make you a more resilient person. So when things come and hit you, you become more resilient and you become able to kind of shed them off more effectively and more efficiently. I think that is a very, very important thing and a very important combination and very important recipe for being successful in the business world. So the other thing that I think is very important if you are trying to be a high-level CEO is upregulating your serotonergic system and your cholinergic system, okay? I think that these two systems, and however you want to do it is how you want to do it, is very important for two things. I think your cholinergic system is one of the most important systems when it comes to your, cognitive function from a perspective of memory and fluency and all of those things. And I think the serotonergic system gives you a very good level of emotional stability, which is very important. Now, I know serotonin is a very widely debated neurotransmitter, and some people think raising it makes them feel worse. If that's you, then don't upregulate your serotonin system. Stay away from it. But again, for a lot of people, the serotonergic system gives them a very good level of emotional stability, which is needed in the business world. Because a lot of times what you'll notice is that you're dealing with a lot of businessmen, especially at the higher levels, who are a bit erratic and who are a bit all over the place. And when you bring that emotional stability and when you always bring the logic and you're not, going off purely your just ego or you're just pure, go-go-go-ness and you're slowed and you're able to make good decisions, it will help you greatly in becoming a high-level CEO. So upregulating the serotonergic system and the cholinergic system for emotional stability and overall cognitive function, again, however you want to do that is how you want to do that, I think are two things that are very, very effective when it comes to becoming a high-level CEO. The third thing that I would do if I was a high-level CEO, and again, this is just a reality video, this is just me saying what I think is most important for being successful as a high-level CEO, is I would have a plan in place for 1 to 2 days per week, and I've talked about this so much, for high stimulant days. Whether you want to use modafinil or whatever your choice of stimulant is, again, make sure your heart's in a good spot, make sure you're healthy, but I would have 1 to 2 days per week where I have a high stimulant, high push day. This should not go past 2 days per week, but these 2 days per week should be days where you can just grind out more work than the average person could who is not on the nootropics that you're on. And I think that these days are crucial in helping you to just get past other people because you're able to do so much more work than them. And again, if you know how to structure a nootropic stack, you shouldn't have a down day after, or maybe you put the weekend days after. But I think that's very, very important in being a successful CEO, is having those days where you're like, I can go work for 12 hours at a higher level than you and I can get more work done, because that will help to elevate you past other people. Because the reality is there is a lot of work to be done. Again, the key to setting up these days properly is understanding, number one, how to set them up so that you're not abusing these days. And then number two, again, planning. When you properly plan these days out and they're high stim, you can knock out so much stuff. It's insane. It's been one of my favorite nootropic add-ons, is having these 1 to 2 days per week, these high stim, high push days. And at the end, you feel amazing because you got so much work done, and you got more work done than the average human could who's not on your nootropic stack. So I think those days are so, so important. The next thing that I think is very important for a CEO to have is some sort of potential stack for meetings, presentations, some sort of charisma-based stack. I think having something like, whether you want to use Phenibut or Kratom, again, we are talking this is a once per week thing, or you're going out to a business meeting with the boss, or you're trying to make a business deal. These kind of pro-social compounds, or these kind of stacks, or these strategies can be so important. I know when I've had kind of high level business meetings before, it's always helpful to have a nootropic stack specifically designed for it so that you can connect better with the other people, you can talk better, you can flow better, and it just makes the process much easier. Now, part of this too should come from you being able to, number one, talk to people and communicate with people effectively. And so I think, learning how to communicate is also very important. And then taking nootropic-based stacks that help significantly with communication is also going to be very important. So again, it's both sides, right? You should have a stack to do it, but you should also be able to have the real world experience, where you've gone out and you've talked to people. And again, how do you build this experience? People always ask me. It's just by talking to people, right? You're at the gym, you see a guy who's super successful, he's driving a Lamborghini or Ferrari. Go talk to him. Go ask him, how'd you get that? Go have a high level intellectual conversation with these people. And the more of those conversations you have, again, anytime I'm around someone who's successful, I try to always make it an effort to schedule a lunch with them, a dinner with them, offer to buy it, whatever. A lot of times they'll offer at the end of the day. But a lot of these people, when you talk to them, when you talk to high level people, you can kind of see how they think. And that'll be very important in how you can kind of handle yourself in future meetings. So when you get in there with the sharks, you know exactly how they are, how they think, how to behave, and you're ready. And so you have the skills, you have the experience, and then you also have the kind of, cognitive-based stacks to go with it. The next thing that I think is very important as a CEO is to have balance. I talked about this a little bit earlier in the video, but I really do think that as a CEO, you need to understand that your goals need to go past just purely making money. Money is great, money is important, but you need to be driven by things other than money. You need to be driven by things like passion, things like family, things like friends, things like taking care of your family. When you are driven by those things, you will notice that you become much more motivated to hit your goals than you would be if you were just going for money. So make sure you have a good balance. Make sure spiritually, again, I'm not saying you have to be a certain religion, but spiritually, you're in tune, you have passion, you understand what's important to you and what's not. You have a moral code you live by, and you're not just freely living in the world going off whatever you feel. Make sure you make time for your family, your friends, your loved ones, and make sure you give yourself time to learn more about yourself, okay? Whether that's through meditation, through religion, through, pharmacology, which, hint, hint, wink, wink, I don't want to say it on YouTube. But again, be a well-rounded person. Be spiritually in line. Be mentally in line, physically in line. Don't fall into the trap of just being kind of that one-trick pony. It's very important that you are a aligned person and that you kind of have that balance, that you're spiritually, aligned. And again, you're socially tapped in. Because when you're balanced, you become such more of an effective CEO because you're able to connect better with people, you're able to understand your goals and your mission much better, and you just overall will become much more successful, okay? The final thing, guys, I want to touch on in this video that I think is so important for any, CEO or whoever is to learn how to be okay with failure. This is not a nootropic stack, but I think as a CEO or as someone who wants to start their own business or as someone who wants to do something huge and they want to start a YouTube or whatever, you have to learn how to be okay with failure and how to stomach failure and how to stomach criticisms, even if it is massive. If you're alive and if you're able to, communicate and do your thing, it is never over, okay? So it's very important that you learn how to properly deal with failure. And unfortunately, sometimes the only way to learn how to deal with it is to get punched in the face by life and get back up and keep fighting. Again, I have a video that I've done based on kind of how to get past difficult situations in life. You can go watch that video. I think that video is very helpful. But again, feeling pain, feeling failure, and working past that is one of the most important skills you will have as a CEO. Because inevitably, if you want to do something big and be highly successful, you are going to fail. You're going to fall on your face, and your failures are probably going to be more catastrophic because you're trying to do big things. But again, it's important to not be afraid of failure and to embrace failure and learn how to work past it. So I hope, guys, this video was helpful. I will be posting an article that you can look at down below. So if you're kind of, interested in some more specifics, again, this video could be a 10-hour video. It could be a seminar on how to become the most dialed-in CEO. I will have an article down below. If you want more specifics, I'm not really doing coaching right now, but you can do a consult with me and we can talk about how to optimize yourself and go through the process. For all information on biohacking, head over to biohackingu.com. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. And until next time, guys, I will see you later.